Look, do you see your breath turn into a thin white rope the moment it leaves your mouth? You're under a dripping stone arch by the Tiber, and the river's damp cold crawls up your shins like a living thing. The stake is simple. If you sleep wrong tonight, you don't wake up with all your fingers, and nobody calls it tragedy. They call it winter. The rule is worse. The night watch doesn't like bodies in the open, and if they catch you after curfew, they don't ask questions. They ask for coin. You've got a choice right now. Do you spend your last small change on warmth you can touch, like charcoal or a doorway fee? Or do you gamble on the kind of warmth that doesn't cost money but costs dignity, pressing your life against other people and animals until morning? You push your hands into your sleeves and feel the cloth, rough wool on the outside, itchy where it rubs your wrist raw. And under that, a thin linen shirt that feels like a lie in this cold. Listen, hear that distant bell? It's not church comfort, it's timekeeping for power. When bells end, mercy ends. A gust knifes through the arch, and you taste the river. Mud, rot, cold iron. So you make the first micro goal. Get off the stone and into a room with a fire, before the watch decides your face looks taxable. You step into the market's shadow, where the day's noise has collapsed into scraps. A broken basket, cabbage leaves stuck to mud, a fish scale glittering like a tiny coin you can't spend. You notice the props of survival everywhere. An iron pot blackened by years, a bundle of kindling tied with twine, a tallow candle stub someone guards like treasure. A charcoal man squats beside sacks that look like they hold night itself. He pinches a lump between two fingers, and it leaves a black smear, a promise and a threat. He watches you the way a baker watches hunger, calculating. Records suggest the smallest daily transactions here run on tiny base coins, denarii that buy you a moment, not a future. And in Rome, those little coins are the kind people count out one by one, the way you count out heartbeats when you can't sleep. You dig into your pouch and feel the pathetic clink, a couple provicini, light as regret. The charcoal man names a night scoop price, enough to keep embers alive, not enough to heat a room. And you have to choose. Do you pay for black fuel that can be stolen, or do you keep the coin for the watch, the real predator? You decide to buy only the smallest measure, and he pours it into your palm like feeding a bird. It stains your skin. You hide it inside your cloak fold, tight against your ribs, and you walk fast because now you're carrying heat's currency. A woman with a rush bundle passes, the green ends sharp and wet. She smells like crushed herbs and old smoke. You remember the second micro goal. Find straw or rushes for the floor. Because cold doesn't just come from the air. Tonight it rises from the earth. A door slams somewhere, and you flinch. Every sound after dark feels like a verdict. You duck into a one-room home where the walls are a patchwork of woven sticks, smeared with mud, straw, and whatever binder the family had. Sometimes dung, because in Rome even filth can be hired as insulation if it sticks. The roof is thatch and sag. You can see the places where last week's rain forced its way through, leaving dark stains like bruises. The floor is packed dirt with rushes thrown down in layers that have lived too long. You step, and it makes a soft crunch, like walking on dried bones. The hearth sits in the center, no proud stone fireplace, just a fire pit ringed with rocks and ash. And the room's warmth is a narrow cone that roasts the knees of whoever sits closest and ignores everyone else. The smoke hangs, lazy, searching for a way out through a roof louver or gaps in the thatch, and you feel it scratch your throat. This is the system. The hearth is king, and everyone organizes their bodies like subjects. The household head points at the darkest corner by the wall, draft country, and then at the area closer to the coals, prime land. He isn't cruel, he's doing math. Infants and the sick get the inner ring. Strong backs go to the outer ring like living shields. You think winter is fought outside, but actually the real battle is about who gets assigned to the cold edge and who gets tucked into the warm middle. You swallow your pride, because pride doesn't warm blood. Your micro goal is to earn a place inside the heat circle without paying coin you don't have. So you offer something more valuable, work. You kneel by the hearth and start raking ash with a broken wooden paddle, shaping a mound the way you've seen old hands do. Because the rule here is sacred. You do not let the fire die. Relighting from scratch means flint, steel, tinder fungus, or dry straw, and fingers that can't feel. An invitation to failure. The head nods. You're in. The door price, in winter, is often not a coin at all but a task. an ember shift, a water run, a risk accepted on behalf of the room. Still, you know sometimes it becomes a literal bribe when the wrong eyes show up. You watch the family bank the fire, pushing the brightest coals together, then burying them under fine ash like tucking children into bed. The ash is a blanket that starves the coals of greed, but not of life, keeping them barely breathing till dawn. You feel the weird comfort of it. Even fire sleeps in winter, but it must never die. The room dims. The only light now is ember red, and faces become masks. That's when you hear boots outside, 2, maybe 3, and the hush that falls inside is instant, the way animals go still before a storm. Listen, do you hear the iron rattle of a lantern handle? The night watch is at the lane mouth, and one of them is laughing too softly, like he's saving the loud laugh for when he gets paid. The household head whispers that the watch has a winter trick. They find violations the way a butcher finds fat, on purpose. They come to pour doors, claim you're harboring vagrants, claim your smoke is illegal, claim your animals are inside against some rule they invented 5 minutes ago, and then they offer mercy for a price. You feel your stomach tighten because you are the extra body in this room, the easiest target. The watchman knocks with the butt of his staff. Thunk, thunk, slow, patient. The head opens a crack, cold knifes in. A watchman's face appears, orange lit by lantern flame, and his eyes slide over you like you're a loaf on a shelf. "Who's that?" he asks. You can taste the trap. If you're declared an outsider, you become the fine. The watchman steps in uninvited, boots grinding rushes into dirt. He points at the hearth. "Smoke nuisance," he says, as if smoke ever asked permission to be smoke. He points at the goat tethered near the wall, its breath steaming, its eyes calm like it knows it's a heater, not a pet. "Animal inside," he adds. His partner smiles and looks at the household head, waiting for the exchange. This is the setup. Accusation without proof, authority without paper, winter as leverage. The threat is implied. If they take you in, you lose the night. Maybe the cloak off your back, maybe a finger if you spend hours in cold stone. The trap is that arguing makes it worse. The head tries to keep voice respectful, offers a bowl of thin broth as diplomacy. The watchman doesn't even look at it, he looks at you. "He's not family," he says. You feel the whole room's warmth pivot around that sentence. Now the forced choice is yours. Do you lie and claim kin? Do you pay coin you don't have? Do you run into the cold? Or do you offer a different bargain? Your labor, your silence, your future. The watchman finally names it, a night piece fee. Several small coins, the kind that empty a poor pouch completely. You feel your provisini hidden in your cloak fold, and you know if you hand them over, you'll have nothing left for bread tomorrow. But if you don't, the watchman's lantern will escort you to a place colder than this drafty wall. You choose the ugliest option. You beg to pay partly in coin and partly in service. You offer to take an ember shift for the watch house later, to sweep their threshold, to carry water at dawn. The watchman pretends to think, like mercy is a theater, then nods. He takes 2 coins now. Your fingertips tremble as you surrender them, and he spits a rule into the room. No strangers after bell. Then he leaves with his lantern, and the cold he dragged in stays behind like a curse. Consequence, you're poorer, and you're now in debt to men who measure kindness in bribes. Survival rule. In winter, never let authority see you as unowned. You step outside for a breath because the smoke is clawing your throat, and the alley is a knife. You instantly regret it. The damp cold eats heat faster outside than you can make it inside. A watchman's partner waits in the shadow, like a second trap you didn't see. Since you're not family, he says, you can earn the rest now. He wants you to carry a sack, his sack, down the lane to a friend. You look at it and your mind screams. That's stolen charcoal, or worse. And he's trying to make you the body that gets caught. You see the trick. Winter forces people into shortcuts. Shortcuts make perfect blame. Your forced choice? Refuse and risk the watch turning hard. Accept and risk being branded a thief. Run and risk freezing and being hunted. You choose the only path that keeps you alive tonight. You play dumb and slow. You lift the sack just enough to show willingness, then you stumble and let it slip, spilling a few lumps. The watchman curses and bends to grab them, and in that moment you step back into the doorway and slam it. Inside, the household head's eyes go wide. You don't explain, you just press your back to the wood, listening to boots and muttered threats fade. You've escaped the trap, but consequence arrives anyway. The room's trust is thinner now. You're a magnet for trouble. The head tells you, quietly, that you can stay till dawn, but you'll sleep on the cold edge as payment for bringing danger. You nod. In Rome, nothing is free. The street has rules. Tonight, you pay in coin, or in pain. You crawl toward your assigned spot near the wall where the draft lives. You feel the rushes under your knees, damp, flattened, and alive with little movements you don't want to imagine. The spike truth hits you. Warmth has a smell here, and it's not pleasant. It's smoke and unwashed wool and animal breath, and last week's stew clinging to wood. You notice the goat shift, and you hear the soft clop of its hoof on dirt. The pig, if there is one, is a low engine of heat and stink. This is dirty truth as law. You share space with livestock because livestock is insulation you can't weave. You think people brought animals inside because they were quaint, but actually, it's security and thermodynamics, heat plus theft prevention, paid for with filth. You tuck your feet under your thighs to trap blood, and you set a micro goal: keep toes alive. The household organizes the sleeping pile like building a wall. Strong adults on the outside, backs to draft, shoulders hunched, cloaks overlapping like shingles. Children disappear into the middle, wrapped until they look like lumpy turnips. An elder is guided closer to the hearth, not out of sentiment, but because elders die faster when cold, and nobody wants that loss of knowledge. Recipes, routes, grudges, saints to pray to when the cough comes. Two forced choices hit fast. Do you press closer and risk being shoved back, or do you accept the edge and use technique instead of position? You choose technique. You pull your cloak up over your mouth, not to hide, but to warm your breath. You turn your face away from the wall and toward the room, nose breathing shallow, slow, because open-mouthed gulps of icy air invite sickness that no healer can fix. You feel condensation dampen the cloth over your lips. It's gross, but it's better than coughing blood later. Someone whispers a prayer, quick, practical, like bargaining. Keep the roof, keep the embers, keep the baby's chest rising. A tallow candle stub is lit for a moment, then pinched out because light costs fat, and fat costs survival. The hearth pops, a child flinches. You hear, faintly, the river again through cracks in the wall, and you understand the emotional ladder. Discomfort is your baseline. Tension is now your mattress. Fear is your blanket. Then relief comes in a strange form. Food. A clay bowl passes, thick with barley and onions, and you smell it like it's a miracle. The bowl is heavy, and you eat like you're shoveling warmth into your guts. Calories become internal fire. You can feel digestion start its slow burn. Someone mutters that bread prices and loaf sizes are always watched in hard times. City rules can fix what a coin buys, and in some Italian towns, statutes a loaf might be set at a few denarii when wheat shifts, because hunger turns into riots faster than winter turns into spring. You swallow and keep it down. Then the myth arrives, whispered by a younger man with bright eyes. Smoke keeps you healthy, he says. It kills the bad air. You notice the elder's reaction, half a laugh, half a cough. Myth. Smoke is pure protection. Reality. Smoke does chase insects and dries some pests, but it also coats your lungs and makes every winter cough a gamble. Why people believe it? Because the same thing that warms you also hurts you, and admitting that feels like admitting you're helpless. How we know this, the elder murmurs, pointing up with a crooked finger. Look, do you see the rafters, black as if they've been painted? That soot is history's fingerprint. In old houses without proper chimneys, smoke rises, hangs, and escapes through roof openings or through the thatch itself, leaving timbers encrusted over years. People later read that blackening as evidence of how these rooms lived and breathed. The elder tells you about a smoke vent pot he once saw on a merchant's roof. Some people get better venting, most don't. You taste the truth. Even architecture has classes. Your micro goal becomes practical again. Get bedding between you and the ground. You ask for extra rushes, and a woman tosses you a small bundle scented faintly of rosemary and crushed green, meant to push fleas back a step. You spread them under your hips. It helps, barely. Now the room shifts into the next system, the ember rotation. Two people stay semi-awake, sitting like tired guards, listening to the fire's breath. The rest try to sleep. Sleeping in shifts isn't a clever idea. It's desperation, organized into routine. The forced choice lands on you. Do you volunteer for a shift to earn goodwill, or do you fake sleep and save strength? You volunteer, because goodwill is heat in social form. The head hands you an ash rake, wood handle smooth from use, and you sit near the hearth, watching the ash mound like it might betray you. Outside, wind paws at the wall. Inside, smoke paws at your eyes. The room is a living machine now. Animals exhale, humans snore. The fire glows like a wounded eye. You poke the ash mound gently, letting just enough oxygen kiss the coals to keep them alive. You learn the feel of it. Too much air, and it flares, eating fuel. Too little, and it suffocates, dying quietly. Someone in the corner sleeps with a heated stone wrapped in rags at their feet. A river rock roasted in the hearth earlier, slipped into bedding like a stolen sun. You see the risk. If the rag shifts, it burns skin or ignites straw. You smell faint singe from an old mistake, and you promise yourself you'll wrap any stone twice if you ever get one. The night watch problem returns, not as boots but as memory. You realize the watch isn't just policing, they're monetizing fear. System reveal number 2. In winter, power isn't only law, it's access. To doors, to fire, to forgiveness. You hear the pig grunt, and for a second it sounds like laughter. Your eyes sting, and your mind tries to escape into stories, because stories are warmer than reality. This is your first turn. The smoke thickens, and suddenly you're not just in this room. You're seeing a woman in a tower, dressed too fine for cold, waiting for a blade. You're seeing a harbor where men throw tea into black water. You're seeing desert pyramids rising from sand like sleeping giants. None of it belongs here, yet your brain serves it anyway, because the body's cold and the lungs are smoky, and the mind is looking for anywhere else to live. Then the hearth pops hard, and you snap back. You're in Rome. Your hands are black with soot. Your throat burns. You pull your cloak higher and practice the breathing the elders insist on. Nose only, shallow, slow, like you're hiding your breath from winter itself. Listen, your own inhale is a tiny rasp. You keep it gentle because pneumonia is a thief that doesn't ask for coin. A child starts mouth breathing in sleep, and the mother presses a cloth over the child's lips softly, not to suffocate, but to warm the air. You feel a strange tenderness in it, care as technique. The stew in your belly becomes your private furnace. You understand why people eat heavy before bed. Digestion is work, and work makes heat. You glance at the pot's residue, barley, turnip, onion, and you imagine the price of meat, how salted pork is a festival dream, how fat is precious because fat burns slow. A lump of rendered fat here is more than flavor. It's fuel for lamp, waterproofing for cloth, and calories that keep you from shaking. In winter, every resource does at least 2 jobs, or it's not worth carrying. Your micro goal now is simply to hold your core warmth steady till dawn, without stealing heat from the baby beside you. Forced choice. Do you shift closer to the hearth and risk waking the elder who will shove you back? Or do you suffer the edge? You suffer. The street has rules, even indoors. The ember shift ends when another adult taps your shoulder, eyes bleary, and you slide away from the hearth like surrendering a throne. You crawl back to your wall spot. The cold edge welcomes you like an insult. You tuck your feet against the goat's flank for a second, just a second, and feel the animal's heat. The goat flicks an ear, annoyed, but it doesn't move. You whisper thanks to a creature that doesn't care. Relief arrives as a small miracle. The woman with rosemary rushes tosses you a stone wrapped in 2 rags. "Don't be stupid," she whispers. "Keep it low." You hold it and feel the warmth pulse through cloth into your palms, and your whole body leans toward it like a starving thing. You place it near your feet under the straw. Careful, because you've seen what happens when straw meets careless heat. The warmth spreads slowly, and for the first time tonight your toes stop screaming. But relief always costs. The stone will cool before sunrise, and when it does you'll want to press it closer, to steal the last heat, exactly when mistakes happen. You set a rule for yourself. When the heat fades, you do not chase it into danger. You keep your breathing slow. You keep your cloak over your mouth. You keep your hands under your armpits. You become a bundle of strategy pretending to be a sleeping person. Then you hear coughing, wet, deep, from the elder near the hearth, and everyone freezes the way prey freezes. A cough can be a prophecy. The mother whispers a saint's name, practical again. The household head stares at the door as if expecting winter to walk in with a bill. The first gray light leaks through the shutter crack. The embers survive. When the ash mound is poked, a red eye opens, and the room exhales relief like it's been holding its breath for hours. Someone cracks kindling, adds it, and the fire takes, small at first, then stronger. You've made it through one night. That should feel like victory, but outside you hear footsteps. Neighbors coming because winter is communal, whether you like it or not. A man arrives with a bundled coal in a clay shard, wrapped tight in cloth, offering it like a holy relic. Your fire went weak, he says. Thought you might need. You recognize what this is. Mutual aid, but also mutual surveillance. If your smoke stops, people notice, and they come. Part kindness, part fear. The neighbor doesn't ask for coin. He asks for a promise. Help him patch his roof later. Share rushes when yours are fresh. Swap a handful of grain when his run's low. That's the winter economy. Debts that are paid in labor and memory. You nod, because refusing would mark you as someone who breaks the village web, and that web is warmer than any cloak. Then the final twist crawls in. The watchman's partner appears at the lane mouth, eyes narrowed. He's looking for you, not the household. Your debt isn't over, it's begun. Forced choice. Do you slip out the back and vanish into morning crowds? Or do you stay and risk dragging trouble back onto people who saved you? You choose to leave, fast, quiet, grateful, and you step into dawn with your cloak tight and your belly still warm from stew. Look, do you see the sun try to rise, pale and weak, like it's tired too? The river fog lifts in strips. The city wakes with stiff joints and hungry faces. You walk toward the baker line because today's micro goal is bread, and bread is survival's polite name. But you feel eyes on you, the watch, the charcoal men, the people who sell warmth by the scoop. You realize the cruel math. One night costs coin, the next night costs more, and winter is long. The rule returns, sharper. If you can't pay for shelter, you pay with exposure. If you can't pay the watch, you pay with punishment. If you can't pay for food, you pay with sickness. You made it through the coldest hours by ash-banked embers, by shared bodies, by animal heat, by a rock wrapped in rags, by nose-breathing and stubbornness, and still the city is ready to charge you again. Listen, the bell rings for morning now, and it sounds exactly like the bell that warned you last night. It's the same metal voice, different sentence. So here's the question you can't dodge. Tonight, when the sky goes black again, do you gamble on the street's mercy, or do you find a way to own your own fire before winter decides what?